Welcome to the Middlesex Moments radio show. I'm Dr. Anna Wasesha, president of Middlesex Community College, right here in Middletown, Connecticut. And joining me today is Kevin Willhelm, who's the executive director of the Middlesex United Way.
Hello.
And Andy Eiss. Eiss, but it's not ICE, it's EISS.
Correct. Right.
And you are a
pastor, pastor of Fellowship Church here in Middletown.
Which is, you say, very close to the campus.
Yeah, actually almost abuts to it,
Yeah. Yeah,
So
you're lucky too that you get to enjoy all the woods and the water and
absolutely beautiful here.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it.
Yeah, I mean, we should recommend everybody who's in the listening audience, they should come up and take a look at your church and my college.
Yeah, it's a
Make
great
it a
setting.
day.
Both of them, yeah.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah. Well, the United Way has an annual day of action.
It is an annual day. About 5 years ago, there was an annual day of action, June 21st, summer solstice, longest day of the year. And the and United Ways from around the country can decide whether or not to participate. All United Ways are local, but we have tried to focus our activities around advocacy, trying to educate, the public and people about certain issues. So a few years ago, our staff actually, a number of us worked on a food stamp program, trying to live for a week on what you would get in food stamps, and we blogged about it, and we talked about it, and we wrote about it, and we had public speaking engagements. It was really very cool just to document our experiences at what that would be like. And then last year it was all about diapers. We talked about both how healthy it is for kids to be obviously in clean diapers, but there's an economic income component for working families who need to have daycare. Daycares require disposable diapers, and so we spent time talking about the need for diapers. We actually collected money and diapers enough to buy almost 50,000 diapers for over 200 families in the region.
During that phase of my life, I was a rampant collector of coupons because they are so expensive. You don't know.
They are really expensive.
Yeah. So this year, what's your focus?
This year it's all about positive role models and mentoring, and so we are actively collecting stories on our website for men and women about people at any stage of their life who talking about their mentor, their positive role model, and everybody has a story, and it's been fun. So we are then taking those stories, and we have a weekly column, we have a blog, we speak about it, we've been on the radio about it, and we're just, again, educating the community around this important need.
Mm-hmm. So when we actually have to take a break, this radio program goes by like the blink of an eye. But when we come back, Andy, let's talk about how you got involved and what your story is for your male mentor. Okay?
Sounds great.
Good. Well, welcome back. This is Anna Wasesha from Middlesex Community College, and I've got Kevin Willhelm today from the United Way and Andy Eiss, and we're talking about male role models, mentors, the whole concept of mentors, which is a Greek idea, an advisor, and there's always the female muse, Beatrice in Dante's Divine Comedy was the person,
We'll take your word for that.
Yeah, you just believe me on that. And for me, it's the Sherpa idea at a college. I think I love that idea because everybody, I think, needs a Sherpa. And for me, it's the image of climbing uphill, and you can get to the top, but you need somebody's help. So, Andy, you were just telling me, first of all, let's talk briefly about the mutter.
Yeah, the tough mutter.
Yeah, like tough.
Yeah,
mutter.
Kevin's fascinated with this.
Yeah.
And so I'll talk about it.
Yeah.
A group of friends went up to Mount Snow, Vermont, and we participated in this race. Although they call it's not a race, it's called a challenge, and teams of people gather up there. It's really a fun time, but it's a grueling physical and mental task set before you, where you basically have to race or compete for 10 to 12 miles, and then there's obstacles that you have to overcome together as a team as well. Ice cold water you're dealing with, slogging through mud, even you can get shocked with electricity as well, and
how
they've got these wires that are hanging, and you have to run through this mess of wires in order to finish it, and you can get shocked. And so you're basically facing your fears. You're facing your fears of maybe a little bit of pain, facing your fears of claustrophobia, of being cold, or of the heights, and I don't know, it's kind of the new rage now. They have these races, Tough Mudders, the Spartan race, and others as such, and it's just a lot of fun.
How many people on your team?
Well, for us, we had a larger team. There was 10 of us on our team, but generally I think there's 3 to 5 people on a team. There's no written rule for that, as long as you just don't track through this alone.
And then did you prepare, or do you just sort of
Well, our
think,
team prepared. Yeah, I kind of jumped in at the last second. We were going up there. My son was turning 18 that day. It was a way to celebrate his birthday.
So he was one of the team?
He was one of the teammates, yeah. And actually, he helped me through part of this as well. And but we had such a great time. Everything was light. It was a lot of fun. Obviously, very grueling, but the encouragement was tremendous, and being together in a team made it so that you can go through. Because honestly, the moments that I was alone, we would split up periodically on these long uphill, runs. Those are when the fears came in. Those are when the doubts crept into your mind. When you were all by yourself saying, I don't know if I can finish this thing. What have I done? This is kind of crazy. But when you were together as a team, there was just that great encouragement, together. And so those were the great moments. And we would get together back at each obstacle and cheer each other on and help one another. It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
So it sounds exactly like the importance of a male role model, right? A mentor.
I guess we could, really apply that at some level to this.
Instant role model.
An instant, yeah. It's nice to have those guys. No one should go through life alone.
Yeah.
And it was really a great illustration of that in those 10 miles, that those were the times you wanted to quit. Those were the moments that you wanted to give up, is when you were alone. But when you were with even just one other person, it changed your mindset completely, and you were there to cheer one another on. You were there to help each other, and it really did change things for you. And it was very encouraging and very uplifting to be with a group.
So how did you get involved with Kevin's project for the Day of Action?
Well, Kevin just let me know about this Day of Action, and he asked if I'd get involved by just telling my story about mentoring. And so I wrote that up for him and sent that in, and anything we could do to help.
Tell me about the process of thinking back to, before you write this story. You should tell us about your story too, but I want to know how you were thinking about it. I mean, what were the kind of memories that came into sharpest focus for you?
Well, for me, whenever I think of mentor, I was fortunate to be raised in a great home. And so every time I think mentor, the first person that comes to mind for me is my father. And I know that's not afforded to a lot of people anymore today. So for me, I just tracked right there and began to think of just reflect on the way that he mentored me, and still is, honestly, through my life, mentoring me. I still talk to him on the phone, even though he's out of state now. I talk to him on the phone every week, and we solve problems together. We talk about issues and such, and then we just have fun with one another. It was a great relationship with him throughout the many years. They've been up and down throughout, but
Sure.
All in all, I feel blessed.
And now you're the parent of an 18-year-old male.
I have an 18-year-old, a 16-year-old boy as well, and then I have 10-year-old twins, boy-girl twins.
Oh.
So I have 3 sons and a daughter. So my hands are full.
Yeah.
And our calendar's full.
I bet. But those are the ages that are often the most trying. So
Yes, they are.
What are the things that you learned from your father that you use as a parent?
That's a really good question. Really, a lot of it is the importance for me is living the life in front of my kids, trying to live consistently in front of them. A lot of times as parents, I know it's very tempting for us to. I noticed this, that when you see something in a child that is leading them down the wrong path, and many times it's kind of what has been a problem for you in your life, you instantly want to go to them and say, hey, knock that off, stop that. And it's more out of fear than it is out of anything, because that whether it be something as simple as procrastination or whatever, what that leads to in life and how that causes all kinds of troubles. And really, the best thing we can do, I'm learning as a parent, is that we need to, instead of trying to correct our kids and fix them with that, we need to, on our own, take responsibility and live the life in front of them. And when they see our life being lived out, I think mentoring is more caught than taught. And especially for guys, they need to, see a model. We're very visual in that way, and so we need to see a model. And obviously, there's a lot of grace and there's a lot of forgiveness with this, because not one of us is perfect.
Right.
But in that process, just living the life in front of them, doing life in front of them, letting them see how you respond and react to things, really has a lot to do with teaching your kids responsibility, teaching your children courage, teaching them self-discipline, and all of how to treat people, and values.
This is a great project, Kevin. Yeah.
Well, Andy and I were both fortunate that we grew up with fathers, but there are 20 million households in America that don't grow up with fathers. And I would hope that fathers are really sort of automatic mentors, but a lot of times that doesn't work out either. And people, they say that kids in particular, they need at least one adult that really takes an interest in them. Hopefully you have more than that, but just one. So whether you're a neighbor or a coach or a pastor or however you can connect with a child, formally or informally, it really does make a difference. It helps them stay in school, prevents substance abuse and other risky behaviors, and just sets them on a path for life that could be really good. But it also could happen later in life. I would imagine people out there have stories of recent stories. They could be an adult and connected with someone who was mentoring them at any stage of life.
Right, exactly. It goes on.
Heaven knows
forever.
Andy still needs help. So
I sure do.
People out there
I
looking
need
to
teams
volunteer.
of people around me, teams of people to help me through this process.
Well, actually, I always say I would much rather work with teams of people because, you learn some. Everybody brings to the table their own set of gifts and talents, and life would be pretty boring if everybody was just like me or
Absolutely.
just like you.
And even with my kids, if I don't consider myself their only role model. I try to, and my wife and I together have worked hard to create, and this is where the church comes in for us specifically, to have other significant male role models in their lives besides me, because they're not always going to come to me and talk to me and ask questions, especially in their teenage years, So we have volunteers, who work in our youth environment. We have staff who works in our youth environment, and so I love the fact that my boys are interacting with those guys as well, and many times during this stage of life they're more likely to go and talk to them than they are even to talk to me or my wife. As healthy as a relationship we might have, it's just the dynamic of that age group, and so team is way better than individual. I'll take whatever I can get, for help.
Right. I was thinking, Kevin, my parents stayed married throughout their entire lives, but my father worked for the 3M Corporation, and his job required that he was gone from Monday morning until Friday night. So he pretty much operated without a father 5 days out of 7. And so, even in that instance, it was very helpful to have adult male, role models, people who reached out to us and taught us how to do things, how to play kickball, how to ride a bike, all that. But the thing that struck me about what you said is how to have courage, and the idea of being caught, not taught, because I totally subscribe to that too. And actually, the first time I took my daughter to the pediatrician after she was born, I don't know, when they were 2 weeks old or whatever, there was a poster in the doctor's office that said, "Children learn not what you tell them, but what they see you do." It was much more elegantly written than that, but I read that and I thought, you're absolutely right. But the courage piece is so important to me, because where do you learn that? Unless you learn it by observing other people.
It's also important, and I assume Andy does this. It's something I'm conscious of. But we all make mistakes, even as adults, and you just have to let the kids know when you've made a mistake.
Right.
We can all think of many examples when we have not been the best parent, or the best spouse, or whatever, the best coach, and owning up to those things. I think Andy talked about taking responsibility. That's a really important thing to teach our kids.
Right. Yeah. And as you say that, I'm thinking.
And you grow from those failures.
Yeah, you do. And my father was kind of a cranky old guy. He's still alive and still cranky.
Did the apple fall far from the tree, or no?
Yeah. He was, but he used to say, "My pencil has an eraser. I don't know about yours." Which was a very aggressive way of saying I made a mistake, so I can,
Wow.
It would fit the crank thing completely.
I think it's hard for guys to say that stuff.
Yeah. So you have to have some bravado about it and be
Yeah.
aggressive about admitting you have human failings.
That's true.
Right. We have to take another break, which is just the nature of radio, apparently. Otherwise, in real life, we don't do this. But on the radio, we have to go away, and some message will come on, and then they'll come back to join us later. So this is Anna Wasesha, and I'm with Kevin Willhelm and Andy Eiss, and I will be back shortly. Well, welcome back. This is Anna Wasesha at Middlesex Community College, and Kevin Willhelm and Andy Eiss and I have been talking about the male mentoring initiative or event or project that the United Way is sponsoring. And the big day is June 21st, the longest day of the year, which is a brilliant thing to think about.
Right.
But can you tell us, Kevin, about how you're going to be promoting this and what the network is for you? I mean, how you're going to get this word out?
Right. So right now we're collecting stories, and we just started to push this out to the public. So I asked some of my friends like Anna and Andy to publish their story, and it's as simple as going to the Middlesex United Way website, and so it's middlesexunitedway.org. Right on the front page there's a Take Action section. You can click on that. You can read about other people's stories that they posted, or you can also detail your own story. And so we are just now starting to encourage the public to share their stories, and so there's a whole. We're very good about social media with Facebook and Twitter, encouraging people to do it. We've been speaking about it. We have a column that we write in the Middletown Press, who is our major partner in this. In fact, they're going to take some of the stories, and between now and June 21st, they'll be publishing some of those stories. Andy's was already published about a week ago. So as people post stories, some of them will be republished in the Middletown Press. On June 1st, we're going to start with Facebook every day for the next 21 days. There's 21 major facts about mentoring and the value of it. So we're going to give people little tidbits like that. And we just have an opportunity with 7,000 donors and 1,000 volunteers and hundreds of companies that we connect with to just sort of educate people about the value of this. So that's really it's a project that will just culminate on June 21st. We may collect the stories in some kind of formal way. We haven't figured that out yet, but we'd love to have your listeners' stories. MiddlesexUnitedWay.org. Take action.
That sounds great. Yeah. And so of those 21 facts about mentors, does one of them is one of them that you need to be perfect? We were talking about that over the break because I know
I'm out.
I know.
Right, me too.
I've been disqualified. But Andy, what were you saying about the whole process and the feeling like you have to be perfect? That's not really the way it works.
Yeah, I had gotten into a conversation with, actually, interestingly enough, a mentor of mine, a few months ago, and he had made this statement to me because I found it intimidating, because I do think we walk into these relationships and we feel like, boy, if I'm gonna do this, this has got to be perfect, and I can't make a mistake. And I mean, we're just not perfect people, and we can learn a lot from mistakes as well. So this one person told me, they said, look, when I mentor somebody, my responsibility is to live my life before them, and my responsibility, and consequently, what's not my responsibility is to make sure that their cup is filled up, is the way he described it to me. He says, I'm going to give out what I have, but I'm not going to carry the responsibility of making sure that their cup is full, because everybody's different. They come from different backgrounds. There's different seasons of life and situations. And so they can take from me what they want to take from me, from the experience that they have with this relationship. And if it fills only half the cup or a quarter of the cup, that's fine. It's not my responsibility to do that. So that really released me to say, okay, I don't have to be perfect in this situation. I just have to be me in this situation, warts and all. And they can learn from the positive things that they're seeing from me, and they can also learn how not to do some things possibly, from the imperfect things that I do. So anyhow, when I did hear that was a great relief for me.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and I totally agree. You learn actually quite a lot from making mistakes. I think that gets back to this idea of courage. In The Wizard of Oz, what Dorothy is looking for ends up being the heart and the brain, but the courage. It's the cowardly lion piece that really brings it together, and I think that's the part of human life, where we have to make choices, and mentoring is very useful if you have somebody who can advise you as you're thinking through the pros and cons of any choice. But then in the end, you have to be able to endure the possibility of making a mistake or taking that risk,
right.
Which facing your fears gets us back to the mutter.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. What did I hear? Courage is not moving on, in the absence of fear. It's moving despite the fear, And so to be courageous, you have to be put in a situation where you are afraid a little bit, and then you move through that, and you find out that you're going to be okay, and that you can handle. And I think for guys especially too, but probably everyone, having that, developing courage, and that happens over time with small wins. Really, it helps us to endure through life. So yeah, it's valuable. I'm with you on that. Courage is important.
It is. And now this is male mentors, but now, Kevin, women can mentor males, males can mentor women, it works in every which way, right?
It does.
Yeah.
There is a particular problem with all of these fatherless households about the need to mentor men, but women can can mentor men, absolutely. And about half the stories we've collected so far are from women, such as yourself, who identified someone and shared that story.
And I will say, you don't need to write a book, just a couple paragraphs, and
Absolutely.
yeah. And the process for me was really actually somewhat emotional, because I don't think about that, but when you went, very often. But you hear, I always said, my mother did pass away. I always said, don't worry about not being here with me, because I will hear your voice for the rest of my life. It's running through my head. But that was what I was thinking about with the person who was probably the most important mentor to me, is that I do have that voice running through my head. But to sit down for a moment and just think about why was that important and how has that changed me, that's an emotional experience.
My mentor, the story I shared, was my advisor at college. I went to Lake Forest College. I was a freshman. It was the only school I didn't visit, so I loved the unknown. I liked the adventure. So I went there. Parents dropped me off, and I was very excited about it, having a good time. And I was a very good student, and almost all A's, occasional B's stuck in there and whatnot. So I got on my first exam. It's like 6 weeks into it. I got a 29 on my economics test. I was so afraid to tell my parents that I was going to fail. I was going to have to flunk out, and it was a hard test. So I got a D+. The curve was so significant, but still. And my advisor, who I just connected with again this weekend, 30 years later, is he grounded me. He knew that back then you didn't call. We actually did the system because I couldn't afford it. I would do the collect call thing. My parents would refuse, and then they'd call me back, so they'd have to pay for it. We just didn't connect that often. It was difficult, just money-wise. And so he was sort of like the tree or the rock, and I went to him, and it was, and just from that moment on, and now it's 30 years later, there are all kinds of examples of how he's had a real positive impact on my life. But started with, I thought I was going to flunk out of school, and in my mind, I was a very successful student, and forget the fact that that it'd be failure. I thought a B was failure, and he had a lot of experience. He had worked through and coached so many students, and he kind of navigated me, gave me confidence, and there were other moments. I never had a real crisis, but when you're the drama of being 18, 19, you think the end of the world is happening. And so he got me through that. It was just one of many examples. It was awesome.
Yeah.
So even those college professors can be helpful.
I know.
Even them.
Absolutely. I'm thinking about that because my mentoring piece was also the transition actually from grade school to high school. And I didn't get an F- from Sister Mary Dolorine, the Latin teacher, but I came close. She was a sadist. It was just she was just not going to give anybody any room at all. But I also I needed somebody to help me, and you have something to say.
I wanted to plug. Can I plug two things that are great? We have a young leaders group, and we have a women's initiative, and they both have upcoming. And they're great, wonderful, fun folks trying to both lead, serve the community through volunteer opportunity, and just network and connecting with one another. So they're kind of like this whole tough mudder thing. They're women are connecting to each other and young leaders. But the young leaders are having an event on May 31st,
which happens to be
commencement. So I'll be at commencement, but with you, which is great. But political leaders are coming together to talk to young people about being involved in politics, and that's May 31st at 5:30. And you can see that on our website, or go to the Facebook page for just type in Middlesex Young Leaders. And the power of the purse, which I hope that you will be attending, Anna. Mm-hmm. Yes, that is going to be on June 28th at Bocce Grill. And again, you can get all that information from the website.
From your website.
Click on Take Action, click on Women's Initiative, click on Young Leaders, and get all that good stuff.
Sounds fantastic. And so now I'm going to draw all these threads together. So
Power
of the purse and the young political leaders piece. Yeah. Going to college and getting your 29, my starting Latin and algebra and going, oh my God, I'm going to fail, and college. And I got to pull you in here, so the tough mudders.
Sure.
Yeah, so you pull all that stuff together, and a lot of it is for going into into the unknown, right? Mm-hmm. You're starting out something new. Like you decided you're going to do Mount Snow, God bless you. That's amazing. And you took off and went to a college you'd never seen before. And I went to this Catholic school with no preparation for what was lying ahead of me. And the people who reach out and help you at those moments are so critical. So I always tell our faculty members, that first couple of weeks of the semester in the fall, most important time of the whole year. Just got to take those moments, and for those of us who got something to give, we have to give. It is the higher calling. And then the other piece is we got to be open to being pulled up like that Sherpa who will strap the rope around your waist and take you to the top of the mountain. We got to be willing to take the help too. So this is just a great idea. I love this initiative. I love doing something on the longest day of the year. And I hope everyone will participate. So they should go to your website at United Way,
MiddlesexUnitedWay.org.
or they can come to my website if they want to hear about the college. I always say this at the end of the program. So our website is mxcc.edu. Middlesex is a phenomenal community college located very close to Andy's church, which is called
Fellowship Church, and our website is fellowshipchurchct.com.
And I'm connected to all three. I obviously work for United Way. I am going to be a member of Fellowship Church. I've been actively going, and I'm on the Regional Advisor Council for the college. So they're all good things.
It's all good. All right. Thanks so much for joining us this week. This has been Middlesex Moments, and I'm Anna Wasesha, president of the college at Middlesex Community College. I'm wishing you all a good day.